3, 2, 1.
Okay, and welcome back to Uptown Films Podcast. I'm your co-host, Gregory Hernandez, and I'm joined by Bryan Ribeiro
Correct.
from Queens, but mostly from Mount Vernon, and he's the founder of the Mount Vernon Film Festival, or now Mount Vernon Independent Film Festival. Welcome to Uptown Films Podcast.
Thank you, Gregory, for having me here. So born in Queens, traveled around to Brazil, where the family's from, and then we immigrated back to the States, went to Ohio, then we went to Mount Vernon. Large Brazilian population is there, so it was easy for us, particularly my mom, to ingratiate. So,
And you're a filmmaker, you're an editor, an animator. You've been working. How long have you been working within the industry?
I've been working almost 8 years in the video editing, post production space. I've done motion graphics animations, filmmaker in addition to directing, and I've done some camera operating as well. I've shot some documentaries and some testimonials, corporate stuff. So it's been sort of all around the filmmaking gamut. If there's been a cookie jar to put my hand in, it's been in there.
I love that metaphor. I love that. I love that visual. And we do apologize if you're hearing a little bit of a background noise. Unfortunately, we are in the Port Morris area of the Bronx, a highly industrial area, and it's a Saturday, and it looks as though there's some construction taking place in the studio beneath us. So bear with us. Hopefully, that goes away at a certain point. I really want to dive into the film festival. What made you want to start it? You just had your first go round on August 12th and 13th of this year. Tell me about it. What made you want to start it, and what was the experience for the first annual Mount Vernon Independent Film Festival?
Well, that's a good question, and thank you for getting the dates correct. You've done your research, and I appreciate that. Um, so Mount Vernon's origin story was always about potential, I think, where Mount Vernon lives as this bridge town. In fact, one of the panels we had at the Mount Vernon Independent Film Festival was Mount Vernon as a concept in relation to art. And because we are right outside the Bronx and into the rest of Westchester, and you can argue upstate New York, quote unquote upstate, it doesn't really fall into an identity. It overlaps with the Bronx to a certain degree, where it gets a little bit of that, and then it gets the Westchester suburban ingredient as well. So it's it's just never really had this, I think, real strong concrete definition. And we had a film festival there before. I'm not entirely sure what happened to it. A friend suggested I go into trying to resurrect it, and that's what I did. We did that earlier this year, honestly, late last year, and created a team, and we managed to sort of figure out how to get this going. We weren't sure if we wanted to make it online,
Mm-hmm.
but we eventually decided to make it physical or on site, and we
Where did it take place?
it took place at the Denzel School for Performing Arts. So it has we went to a couple different places, but we eventually landed on that just because it's at this perfect intersection of performance and education, which film
Yes.
festivals tend to lean on anyway.
Yes.
So yeah, and in terms of the learning, it's just creating any sort of event that amalgamizes itself in just to a few days, where we just take a whole year or 10 months or whatever and condense it into a small amount of space. It's really about trying to get as many people involved ahead of time. The actual day of is very easy, but the preparation for it to make sure it's as on many legs as possible before they fall is important. So getting sponsors,
Mm-hmm.
making sure we had the correct venue, for example, before we finally landed on Denzel, working with art initiatives in Mount Vernon, however few of them there are, and trying to get local office aware of the event, news. A lot of these sort of grassroots campaigns we did, actually going around the town and spreading information by way of flyers and talking to people and going to events in the park. Other neighboring towns, we went to Yonkers, we went to Bronx, we went
Nice.
to Bronxville, and we went to just as many places as we could and tried to have as many face-to-face conversations with people about this sort of event, just because I think it speaks to the humanity of films anyway. So yeah, it was a lot of trial and error, and still is, to be fair. Um, I'm not an event organizer. I'm a filmmaker.
Right.
First and foremost, a creator, a storyteller, what have you. So going down this route was strange, but I learned a lot and I met a lot of people. And I think that's the biggest benefit of it all, is just the ability to connect with folks that you may have not otherwise connected with.
I love that. And hence, again, you have the cap on that says director. So kind of getting out of that comfort zone to do a film festival,
Yeah.
it's a huge undertaking. I know Bronxville, they have the Picture House. Yonkers, has a plethora of, Yoho, I believe. They have arts and Great Point Studios, Lionsgates there.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. But talk to me about starting a film festival in Mount Vernon. What's the film scene or landscape like there? That's where you're based. Why would a filmmaker in Mount Vernon want to start a festival?
I think it's not too dissimilar from the Bronx and overall New York, where it's just every town that is sequestered by some sort of imaginary line has a vast amount of topographical geography to it. In the case of Mount Vernon, we bleed into 241st Street, and we have on the other side forests and all the things in between. So Mount Vernon to me has always had that sort of potential that I spoke about earlier, where it's just it's a schizophrenic town. There's a whole hodgepodge of different territories, and I think as a result, different mindsets and different diverse backgrounds, and we should be able to take advantage of that. I already have. I've shot in parks and forests and more urban locales towards the subway system. So it seems like all the ingredients are there. It's just that there's only not enough of a spotlight for it to be highlighted. When people think of Mount Vernon, they usually think of crime, the South Side. They usually think of like Law and Order, maybe shooting there, HBO, Power, any of these sort of crime or crime dramas, which is cool. But there was a scene in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind that was shot in Mount Vernon, the Mount Vernon East train station, where there's this overhung bridge that Jim Carrey goes over because he's late to go to Long Island, not Mount Vernon.
Right,
He's going to Long Island.
That's the thing, yeah.
So that was shot in the train station I live nearby.
Montauk. Yep.
So Montauk, yeah, good memory. So yeah, I just rewatched it earlier, and seeing that through the lens of a film, Mount Vernon, it almost mythologizes that train station a little bit. It just makes it a little bit more abstract, and I think that's powerful. And I think we can do that with Mount Vernon. I think it has all the ingredients there, just not enough of an intrigue or maybe even an optimism to try and like get a romance, a kissing scene done at our local roundabout where the water can time itself to two people kissing or something like that. I think it's got the potential. I've been there almost my entire life, and that's the biggest draw for me, is to try to get people aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how successful it's going to be. It's only our second year.
Yeah.
But we're trying our best, and we've attached at least my face and a few of the faces of the crew members to this idea, so it's harder to assassinate.
What was like a major highlight or one memory that sticks out for you from this first iteration?
The event itself was so emotionally healthy and creatively stimulating for anyone who attended, because you got to be in a space of 1,278 seats with an amazing sound system, a big projected screen to watch your short film, and that high, that adrenaline that you get, that overwhelming, inescapable flood of whatever that film's emotions is trying to cultivate comes towards you is unavoidable. So when people come out of that sort of scene, that sort of euphoria, and they go into the lobby and they talk to their filmmaking friends that they've made, and you can feel that energy. So that's it. It was just being in the midst of all of that tsunami was helpful for me. It makes me want to make films, which I already am.
Love it.
We all are making something at the end of the day, and sometimes we need a little bit of inspiration for that and some education. We had panels that were focused on stunts, which I think doesn't get highlighted enough. So meeting those guys, and then now I've networked with them, and I'm going to help them make like a Highlander short film. Like that's awesome. We get to do this cool thing. So the 2 days where there wasn't a particular highlight, it was a blur of imagination that was really helpful.
I love that. And it's because we were talking offline about, why am I doing this? I'm a filmmaker. Why am I organizing a film festival? Yet I think you said it there, like, also the energy is palpable. It inspires you. That's, I think, in my view, a reason to not only do it but keep doing it. And I imagine that if the founder feels that way, then the attendees, the filmmakers,
Yeah.
definitely feel that. And again, establishing community, I think Leslie Kleinberg, former president or executive director of the Film at Lincoln Center, she's from the Bronx. She said the future of film is community. So that, for me, I'm a filmmaker from the Bronx, executive director of Bronx Independent Cinema Center, started this podcast to get the messaging out about our nonprofit. For me, I'm like, okay, I felt alone in this borough of 1.5 million people. A lot of my network was in Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan at the time. Now creating a network here, great, because I want to keep making films and I live here. I have self-interest. So I think that's what you and I are doing. I see a lot of similarities and synergy. We're both 34 and we're both like kind of like quote unquote entering the prime of our careers, so to speak. Yet everything's so hard. Everything feels, dystopian in a way. And I think we need to hold on to a form of optimism sprinkled in with a lot of realism and a little bit of cynicism, because good things are hard to come by. But I think what we create is dope. So, yeah, I'd love to collaborate. And I agree. I know some folks in Wakefield, like just up north is Mount Vernon. So, and then Mount Vernon, famous people from Mount Vernon. Denzel Washington. I think we were talking like who? Art Carney from the Honeymooners. Is from
Heavy D, DMX. Tons of basketball players. I'm not a sports guy. I don't know any of them. I think E.B. White, who wrote Charlotte's Web.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks that I don't remember off the top of my head. In fact, I'm writing a short film.
Oh, awesome.
That is to coincide with this film festival. So this film's whole schema is to act as both a love letter to Mount Vernon and a business card to show that, hey, we can shoot around this town and show its worth. And it's about a Uber driver. So it gets us an excuse to use it. So this film,
why not Lyft?
Oh. Team U, apparently. And the characters are all immigrants or the sons of immigrants and stuff, to show that this town is diverse, and it had like a huge flux of people from my country and other countries, particularly Jamaica and Puerto Rico, Korea, West Indian countries like Guyana. So we had a whole bunch of folks in Mount Vernon that I think can be utilized and expressed. We want to use local talent as
Love
well.
it. Exactly.
We have a montage of just a different rotation of different clients that are getting into this guy's car, so we can have as an excuse to show all the different folks of different backgrounds in it, all the kooky characters of Mount Vernon. It's an idea that's still coupled with the film festival to try and get people aware of film and video, and see if we can't get more creators out of this town and coming into the town.
Exactly.
What I would love is like a pipeline that gets created for independent filmmakers, in particular for Mount Vernon, so that they could use certain parts of Mount Vernon at cost or for free would be great, so that they could use the roundabout, our local school, and just change it into a courthouse front or something like that, so that we could eventually make it into the next Austin at some point. I don't know how much of that is realistic.
And for our listeners, you're talking about the Austin Film Festival?
Austin Film Festival, but Austin itself has a personality that's rooted in art, and a lot of people congregate to there. Or even things like Sopranos that use Newark. It's become popular for that. Or The Office with Scranton. Yeah. Like I just want it to become some sort of hub, so that artists or fans or whatever the case, but likely just creatives, could come in like, oh, Mount Vernon is known for this. Let's go over there. Let's visit. Let's get an apartment there because it's got a real big artistic lean. We have a lean towards music and sports, but not particularly video or film, even though we're right outside of New York City and are in that zone where there's still some tax incentives, apparently. I don't know all of the logistics there in terms of Union, but apparently there is some benefit there that goes up until another town called White Plains. So, we have all the ingredients there, but the film festival and then this film is just trying to get the attention of local government and governments outside of it to see if we can't make some stuff together.
Beautiful.
You're watching Uptown Films, so keep watching Films Uptown. Hey there. I'm Nicole Tay, and you're watching Uptown Films.
Hi, my name is Sean Senavrotny, and you are listening to the Uptown Films podcast.
Hi, this is Alvaro Franco, and keep making films Uptown, and please keep showing Uptown some love.
Hi, my name is Zayn Lindsay, and you're watching Uptown Films.
Hey, this is Christopher Hall. Thanks so much for listening to the Uptown Films podcast.
You've spoken about sponsors. What was that like trying to get sponsors for the first annual Mount Vernon Film Festival? And then also meeting the mayor of Mount Vernon. What was that like?
Yeah. So sponsors first, I was told to try and hold the Mount Vernon Independent Film Festival outside of Mount Vernon, but that didn't make any sense to me.
Who's that?
Just some folks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
To not be named.
Who would just say, hey, we have other venues that are quote unquote better and more relative to the film scene, and they were right. But for me to build this, I'd have to try and do it in Mount Vernon and proliferate that, because what's the point of putting these seeds here and then letting it grow in another town? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me in my mind. So the same thing with sponsors. We tried to go for Mount Vernon specific folks, so we would go handing out flyers, and I would just ask them, hey, would you want to be a sponsor? So local eateries was a good example of that. We were able to get two. One had to back out at the last second, and but they were still able to give us some free baked goods on the event itself. And another was this really beautiful small cafe, the Cozy Cup Cafe. Shout out to them. They were our first real sponsor who helped support the event. One of the awards was given out in their name, Best Writing, because they are a cafe that leans into literature. They have books similar to this, sort of stacked up, and you can swap books. So it was just about trying to convey how we can swap or trade skills. So for them, they were able to vend at our location and give out samples and sell their swag and stuff like that for a fee. And in return, they get more of the Westchester populace who are coming to that festival, more eyes on them from that demo, and they get to also be part of the pomp and circumstance and present an award. So that was really cool. So, and what was the other question again? Sorry.
Yeah, meeting the mayor of Mount Vernon. What was that like?
So it was very quick. We didn't really get a chance to really sit down. But what was really cool about the mayor was that she was a video editor back in the day. She used to use Avid, and she told me when I heard the word Avid, I was just like, whoa. So yeah, they have an interest in it so far. They didn't get the chance to actually come, but it's on their radar. And I think a lot of, and you know this more than anyone, I think the first couple of years are just proving grounds to see if this thing actually sticks or if it's just some guy doing something willy-nilly. Because I guess a lot of these folks who hear about these sort of events and campaigns and initiatives, they die out pretty quick, and they want to see ones that sort of can swim upriver and see which ones survive.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think traction is everything. That's the operative word, those first 2 to 3 years. But the fact that the mayor of Mount Vernon used to be a video editor and use Avid, I'm like, all right, second year they're going to be there. And like they're going to speak, and like, hey, and that might be, they might be in your next movie.
Yeah, that'd be dope. I would love for them to be a political candidate that just dives into the Uber car and just like needs to get out super quick or something like that. We need
to make this up. That could be. You know, it's like funny. What do you think about a lot of the content on Instagram and YouTube that some people are saying like it threatens cinema? I personally disagree, but I do like seeing, I don't want to say the rise, but the consistent, I guess, emphasis or effort on a lot of this episodic content of like something like The Super, where it's just like always the same thing, somebody knocking on the Super's door or the Super knocking on somebody's door, or like what Jerome Seinfeld did. I don't call him Jerry, I call him Jerome, that's his real name. Comedians in cars getting coffee, or comedians in cabs, whatever, getting coffee, whatever. So things like that, it's like, all right, just like find your like thing and make it consistent, and then they'll put it on different apps, and people are watching shows now. Like I watch my show on TikTok or IG versus an app, so another streaming app. So
I mean, nothing will replace cinema. I think that communal aspect is just too powerful, and I think the reason why we watch these things to begin with, I think one is to desensitize for a little bit, to check out, but it's also on the flip side to feel something. We watch these movies, I think, deep down to like just get something out of us that we wouldn't normally be able to do in a big darkened room, watching these characters have a conflict and try and figure things out. in terms of the space on the phone, I think it's important, and I don't think it's too dissimilar from stuff that we already watched growing up, like Law and Order, which was already super procedural. It's safe. You can see what's going on. You can see Ice-T act. So it was all the stuff that you liked.
I got to be in a room with him one time when I was an extra.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I want to be a dead body one, just not without any nudity from the belly up. And so these things that you see on YouTube, to me, are just an extension of what we already see already that follow some sort of logistics. They're just on a smaller platform. My bigger concern is stuff like AI. So that's a conversation that I don't know if it's out of the scope of this podcast theme, but that is more concerning to me than medium shifts. Rather, when it was going from big film to then audio narratives on radio to TV and then serialized television shows and stuff like that. The adaptation of storytelling going from a medium to another is not really what concerns me. It does like how the procedures are made now and how the job market gets affected.
Well, I completely agree with you. I think it's another point where not a trend, but just a point of emphasis. Like, okay, I can do this too, but it's not going to replace, the model of what we have. So it's been talked about with radio, with TV, things like that. It's like, oh, the cassette, the CD, the vinyl. It's like vinyl's doing really well. So it's like, it's another thing, but still was the reason why we go to the theaters. Like someone told me, like somebody's really close to me. I'm not going to mention their name, but it's like creating a cinema. I don't know if that's like a business model that people will want to invest in. I'm like, you can say the same thing about restaurants. Yet when there's a huge catastrophe with COVID, the government is bailing them out. So I think we need to, in my opinion, it's a PR thing, or it's just a matter of emphasizing community, and it's on us to patronize and really make sure we support and keep our cinema spaces alive and well. And by, again, talking about it.
I mean, why do we keep museums? Why do we keep libraries? Because they're just repositories of emotional data. Right. So I think that's just as important as anything else. I think we get lost in the logistical and scientific, which I think is extremely important. Even science is losing its sort of battle now, I think, with the modern zeitgeist we have in terms of value systems. But when it comes to art, Mount Vernon doesn't have a museum.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it doesn't have a museum. It has gallery spaces that are sort of spread out, but there's no museum to Mount Vernon since its inception, I think in the late 1600s. It was named after another town in Washington. So Mount Vernon it's got this weird history, especially in the last 50 years with the white flight, a lot of folks from different countries coming in, and now the intermingling of that. So it's got this whole potential to be explored in any kind of facet, but I don't know, the value system isn't just quite there yet. It's had a lot of downs, so I think we're also trying to recover from a lot of economic downturn too.
Yep, people are still feeling just the issues of COVID. Like it's only 5 years ago. And then also, again, similar to Mount Vernon, the Bronx, we have a couple of museums. They're both small spaces, like gallery spaces. And I notice when friends from Brooklyn come to visit, like, oh, you do have a museum, but that's compared to what they have. Yeah, it's just like a glorified art gallery. But yeah, I definitely, I'm happy to talk about AI. I do have a background in workforce development. I'm working formerly at LaGuardia Community College. Workforce development is a little saturated, but at the same time, it's something where we need to prepare people to find employment in the advent of AI, and also train them in AI to be either overseers or supervisors. And then from a perspective as a screenwriter, I like using AI for certain prepping and references. Concepting, designing, ideation, but I'm not threatened by it in that vein. But if you're a virtual production supervisor, audio engineer, animation, things of that nature, it's got already like with certain things with Adobe Premiere and DaVinci, it's like, oh, I don't need an assistant editor. There's a lot of things I can do on my own. So that's how I got my start. Yeah. And
I can ramble off that just because I've already heard folks who work in like podcasting using CapCut or some sort of AI system from
CapCut. And Devin, what do you use? Clipchamp? Yeah. Clipchamp is another thing
where they have some sort of built-in program that will like cut anytime somebody speaks, and it'll go to that angle of the camera. And I think that's great. I like Pluralize. That'll do a lot of the syncing for you, that kind of stuff. But what I used to do back in the day in terms of like going through each shot is you see the little magical moments. And if we use an AI piece to, like right now it's cut on me to show this, but it just wouldn't have shown the smile that you just had. As I mentioned, these weird like quirks about whatever, humane thing we're talking about at this moment. So AI would miss something like that. So the unfortunate aspect of that is like how much degradation are we willing to accept for the sake of convenience or speed or hustle or overt capitalism, whatever you want to go.
Efficiency and greed and losing the art of it.
Yeah. So entry level jobs would have already gotten removed by now. If AI was like 10 years ago, it would have been advanced to a point where junior editors who need to sync and ingest and go through something like Avid or Premiere to highlight and make selects and all these other like aspects of post-production that help make a film's pipeline be smooth and artistically wide. But AI would remove something like that if it hasn't already, in terms of just going to straight to the cut, and you can see what it thinks it's best, rather than some video editor who's had more experience, who's able to actually watch other films and take a wider net of inspiration to figure out what this film requires. It's very disheartening. It reminds me of an episode of Shark Tank I watched where now you can 3D print instruments, musical instruments, and it's more cost affordable, so you can give them out into schools that may not be able to afford them, which is great. But I wonder how much of it is going to actually be affecting that song now, the warmth and the brilliance of that song. So it may not be the same. It may lose some humanity in the process, and it always goes back to why we watch films, and it's to feel something.
How do you use AI in your workflow, if you do at all?
I use AI in the imaginative sense. If I have an idea for a film, how does this look like? How can we visualize it? So I'll ask it to concept a wrestler tending to his wife, and they'll show this, big hulking guy over this small frail woman, and that's pretty cool for me to see and play around with it, as opposed to kind of all doing the heavy lifting in terms of the script. Getting a little bit of a visual reference is really fun, and it really gives you, I think, a confidence boost, or at least a little boost. But we've been using AI since like the 90s, ever since digital editing has gone on, and digital anything really. I think AI it's not even the right term. There's no real intelligence to it, but things like software all use AI and interpolate and all do this kind of like process that requires a level of coding to make sure it works. And then they have what if statements to make sure that there's no, holes for the system to fall through. I think what we have here are they're just large language models that have predisposed positions of responses. Right. So AI isn't even the right term for what we have now, but it is scary to see how it's using video. And I'm curious on that. Like if we can use that as video storyboards for the short film that I'm going to produce. I'm just getting a bunch of friends and we're going to shoot in a car and see how the angles work. So I don't know if AI is quite there because it won't understand what a 27 millimeter lens is for a wide shot and what an 85 telephoto lens is for a close-up where I want to enunciate this emotion. It can only guesstimate if it can even do that right now. That's where I'm going to start. That's where I'm going to use AI, is all in terms of pre-production phase, where I personally will have highs and lows with the script. I'll get depressed, I'll get excited, and during those depressive episodes, that's when I start to use AI to make sure I get that boost. You know what I mean? So all that kind of stuff is super helpful for me because I'm not a writer. I'm a post-production guy. I'm a director. I've never been paid to write. So that's something that I think I'll need a crutch for.
Gotcha. Yeah. Did you have a writing partner or somebody in your network like, hey, man?
Yeah. I've met so many people now with this film festival that I'm going to start using more folks in the industry. I do send it to folks who are friends as well, who will be straight with me and check me on what is or isn't good, just because you need that. And sometimes folks who aren't cinephiles can kind of give you a better perspective on those who do, because they don't know the rules and they don't know what rules can be broken, and that might make your piece stand out more, which I think is important. In fact, our screening team has so we have 7 people. One's a writer, one's an actor, one's a musician, me, and we have 2 that aren't filmmakers necessarily. They've helped out on projects and stuff like that, but they're just working folks who work in banks or hospitals and stuff, but they have a love of filmmaking. So I think that's always super important to have. Yeah.
I've always not joked, but like said it with friends, close friends, like, okay, we want to fund our project. We need a doctor, a lawyer, a banker. We need a dentist. We need people who have money to like, who love film. Like, yeah, here's 10 grand and I want to be an executive producer. It's like, fuck yeah. Like,
No, I want to show off to people that I helped make this project. That's still part of the
get in
grind.
the seat.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of not too dissimilar from having an influencer now in Instagram, where now you have a spokesperson for your film. It's different in the sense now companies have influencers who can kind of walk the streets of social media to spread it. But if there are folks on the reverse who can walk the ivory towers and share the film around and say, hey, I made this piece that has this dope action scene or something like that. Like, oh, I did that. And then you go in your room with dimly lit lights and you're looking for some fun. You can prove that hey, I did this film. You'll get a lot more attention that way. A lot of people are seeking that kind of stuff in the back rooms of filmmaking anyway. So, yeah.
But I love that you said, like, I did that versus, OpenAI or Zoros. Like, oh, we did that. And this is the worst it's ever going to look, which means the next 2 years. When I saw, I was at December of last year, it was coming out. I was like, wow, look at this amazing drone footage of this like city. I'm like, what city is that? And it was hard to tell what it was. I'm like, oh, is that how that city looks? I'm like, it looked okay, but I was like, wow, this looks somewhat real. But then you start looking at other stuff, it doesn't look as real, and you're like, and now everyone's using it. I mean, but ironically enough, in New York City, with the mayoral race, we had one guy win who used authentic, his mother's a filmmaker, talking about Zohra Mamdani.
Yeah, Queen of Katwa.
And, Mississippi Masala, and it's great ads campaign that he ran. And then the other guy who finished in second actually used AI and was very garbage AI, very racist, xenophobic AI, and just a little microcosm of certain things. Like,
that's interesting.
The shortcut. Like, this guy was on the streets in the Bronx in Fordham, November of last year, with a microphone and trying to talk to many people, and then just consistently kept doing that. And he's got like 5 million followers. He was just standing next to Trump, smiling down at him like a millennial Muslim mayor. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think it speaks to that reference you made earlier where vinyl's coming back and its tangibility that people are missing. People want analog. People want to feel like they're part of the space that they're actually in.
Physical media.
Physical media is coming back, I think, to a certain extent. I still have a CD player in my 2019 Subaru.
Hell yeah.
So I'm going to keep that as long as I can, just because Bluetooth is cool. I like that. But having the chance to feel something like this, where it's headphones connected to something, there's a level, I think, safety where I won't lose connection.
Right.
I won't lose in the technical version of connection, where the Bluetooth may go in and out, but also the literal and safety emotional sense of it as well, where now it's connected to my phone and I can hear this without worry.
Love it.
And it's the same with physical media. It's the same with keeping films as away from AI within reason as possible, not cloning background actors' faces and using those in perpetuity. That's all a very scary process, and I think it just further removes us from what we've been going down in the last couple decades with social media. So just trying to keep as much tangibility as possible. And to be fair, a lot of tangible stuff is more expensive.
Right.
So I hope to think that I hope that there will be a more cost-effective way to keep things that are tangible and still reasonable for folks to have and appreciate over time.
I agree, and I know that becomes a little like niche down and like, oh, you're a collector, but at least with vinyl, like, before you pull out that record, you can read everything about like the group.
And what effect does that record have on you? You get to listen to a song in its most sonically authentic, and you have the chance to reflect and become, I think, a person with a deeper sense of the world around you. You get the chance to connect with yourself. I think what the internet was good for was connecting with the wider
Right.
world. But I think when you stretch yourself off into that sort of like schema, into that sort of space, you start to thin out. Not unlike, let's say, like Mr. Fantastic or something. The more you're stretching your arm out, the more you're thinning out and stuff like that. So I think it's time to maybe bounce back and, like, I don't know, converge on the value system that we
What's
have as a
authentic?
species. Yeah.
What's authentic? Speaking of authenticity, before we get to the next round robin or like the lightning round or quick questions, your shirt. Are you a huge Stanley Kubrick fan? Are you really big into The Shining?
I really like Shining. I really like horror films in general. I'm not the biggest aficionado of horror films or Kubrick, but I don't discriminate. I love all films. I just saw this shirt at Hot Topic and I had to get it. That's my style. That's my fashion style.
Hell yeah. I used to go to Hot Topic back in the day. Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. So, but yeah, I love all films, and Kubrick was one of the first that I was confused watching, so I had to rewatch, and that was a very good testament to understanding story better.
Awesome. Favorite horror film?
Right now, it's the It series. Yeah. That's definitely my favorite. I know it's a little bit of a safe one because it's recent and it's not probably cinephile approved because it's not The Exorcist from the 70s, but there's something about how it combines emotion. I've cried for it, part 1 and part 2. So it touching on the best aspects of horror while leaning into the vulnerability that gets created out of it is something I really enjoyed.
Cool. Well, and then favorite film plus your Best Picture Oscar winner nom.
For this upcoming one?
Mm-hmm. I know we got like a month left in the year, but basically, who do you...
I love
your favorite film and best film?
I have so many favorite films. I was just answering this question last night because it's one per genre. It's several per genre. So my favorite animated film is Iron Giant.
Okay.
But there's a bunch. I love Goofy Movie. I love Kiki's Delivery Service. Best sci-fi, Children of Men, Blade Runner.
All right.
Tons there. Drama would be like Whiplash. Moonlight is really, really fucking good.
Moonlight, yeah.
Tons there. Barton Fink. Like, there's just so many.
Barton Fink.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
John Goodman is great in every movie.
Yeah, he's amazing. Action films. I think my favorite film is still probably this action film called Hero, starring Jet Li. It was the first film I ever saw that I actually was confused by. I was like 14. It's like a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, wushu dramatic film done by Zhang Yimou of A House of Flying Daggers fame, and he's done a bunch of stuff. So that was the first one that I got the chance to. I had seen Jet Li growing up all the time, so him doing this dramatic role where I could see skill sets transition into a different genre was really exciting for me, just because I thought it was like a nice generic action film, but it wasn't. It was a slow paced. It was a thoughtful, romantic, measured action film about people and how they see themselves in this world of China and its colonization. So it was a beautifully done film, but I have so many for different reasons. But Hero would be the first one, just because it was that domino effect of different pieces that I would be going on to like analyze obsessively.
Theater, drive-in, at home, preferred movie watching experience.
Theater.
Why?
I love the theater more as I get older, as I get more sequestered from life.
As I become a recluse.
Yeah. Fuck these people. I want to be a hermit. Get out of my face.
You're supposed to be socially running a festival.
Yeah. There's something about seeing. I think probably I've never been to a drive-in. I know they have them in Nyack and some other parts of New York and stuff, but I've never been to one, so I can't speak on that. And I do like watching films at home because I get the chance to kind of take a notebook out more and be a little bit more analytical. But when you're in the theater, you're more in like an emotional space, and you get to watch. I was watching the movie Elf last year at Alamo during its Christmas holiday season, and for some reason, when Buddy the Elf got into an argument with his dad, I started crying. That's one of my favorite. That probably is my favorite Christmas film.
That's one with Will Ferrell.
Yeah, he's at that bridge. and he was contemplating suicide very briefly. It was a reference to
James Caan.
Yeah, James Caan.
James Caan, yeah.
And I'd never cried at that film before, even though I'd seen it dozens of times and on bootleg DVDs growing up. So when I saw that in the theater, it just hit my emotional sensors in a different way. So I think that's, again, speaking to how strong film and storytelling is. It's not unlike just the extension of being around a bonfire and that dark, closed community aspect in the forest together. And we have this one source of light, and we're surrounded by this object of story. In this case, maybe it's your camp counselor talking or something like that. But in the case of the theater, it's somebody who's actually you're experiencing a film, and it's all its facets expositing towards you.
Last question: what is the last movie that you could not finish?
What was the last movie I could not finish?
I'm only bringing this up because somebody this morning was like, "Oh my god, this is one of my favorite movies." I'm like, "Oh my god, I couldn't finish that movie."
Couldn't finish that.
For me, it was The Hateful Eight.
The Hateful Eight.
I fell asleep. My dad fell asleep, and there was a moment I was like,
"Is it because of quality or because you slept?" Like, what do you
my dad fell asleep halfway through, and I was like, "I'll pause it."
Yeah.
It was just more like at a certain point. It's kind of funny. It was so sequestered and a little claustrophobic. I was kind of like, I can't get it.
Yeah, it's a very theatrical film in terms of like it's just a bunch of people talking in a room.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson was great in it. It took me multiple sittings to finish it. That's what it was. That and The Irishman. I had to finish it in multiple sittings.
I was like that with The Wire because I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on because there were a lot of name drops and stuff.
Yeah, that's a show.
Yeah, that's expansive. And
what about a movie that maybe you couldn't finish?
I mean, we talked about one that was like the It film from the 90s that I couldn't finish, but a more recent one was just because I think of superhero fatigue I couldn't get through was I think the Justice League movie. It's just, I'm a nerd. So I have a lot of expectations for these sorts of films. And I used to work at Disney Streaming in the social media department in terms of their post-production stuff. So I would see a lot of the trailers that would come out, and a lot of it is just becoming too samey. It's almost as if it was like done in a room full of C-suite guys, and they just vote yay or nay for these things. Yes or no, 1, 2.
Like the friggin' Emperor and Gladiator.
You got Joaquin Phoenix in a suit with a buzz cut. Yeah, that was the last one, just because it was just too long and too samey.
Cool. Last question, as I'm getting a phone call here. Last question. Are you on Letterboxd? And if so, what do you think about their video store opening up next month?
I'm not on Letterboxd. I have.
Wow.
Yeah,
I feel like you would be.
I watch so many films now as part of this job, and I review them with our little Google Sheets and stuff, and I give them scores. I do this already, so I kind of don't want Letterboxd to have another excuse to do it. And me and my partner, we love talking about films, so I don't need to personally go online and discuss them and stuff. And I think that still retains a little bit of that humanity. I've been trying to like exposit as much as possible. Like, it's one thing to go on Letterboxd and rate films and stuff like that. It's another to go after you watch the film and like harass your friend for why he liked that Superman film. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like,
rag on him. Like, how do you like that?
Yeah. It would. I didn't. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah.
I'm sorry, but Christopher Nolan, the Dark Knight franchise, you should have done Nightwing after that instead of if we went into whatever DC, whatever Disney. I don't know. They went into Batman versus Superman and this and that. I'm like, just give us Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Nightwing.
Yeah, that would have been dope. That would have been dope. I liked the Batman with Robert Pattinson.
That was good.
With the big forehead, like I like that version.
Because like, give me younger, unpolished Batman.
Yeah,
getting his ass kicked a bit.
Little emo, a little depressed. I like that. I like the setting. It was noir, neo noir. I love that kind of thing. Boom, boom, boom. Like I know all that stuff, but like it was just, yeah. And I forgot to answer like what the nominated Oscar best.
What do you think is going to be like the best?
I don't
picture?
know, but I think the recent one that I really liked, just because I think it is still topical, is One Battle After Another.
You like one bladder after another?
I did. With Sean Penn's fascination with the melanin. I love that. It was great.
Isn't it the movie where the black actress disappears like a third into the movie, we never see her again or whatever?
Yeah, she dips out because she is
spoiler alert.
She dips out because of her values are so extreme that she can't commit to family life. So, and I like that depiction of what it means to be so involved in your campaign, in your belief system, that nothing's going to stand in the way. we see a lot of that with fathers.
Yeah.
Just seeing a mother being depicted like that, I think hits extra hard, just because of the stereotyped position you might be in as a mom.
Yeah, man, that's Leo's worst nightmare, to be left alone with the kids.
His kids are his ex-wife, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Kidding. I'm 25 and under.
Yeah.
Here we are at the end of 2025. Bryan, where can our listeners follow you and follow the Mount Vernon Independent Film Festival?
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram at Mount Vernon If, 2 Fs. And you can find our website, mountvernon.if.com. And then you can find me on Instagram at Bryan with a Y, Key 123.
If.
Oh, sorry. That's my email. You can find me on Instagram at BryanFilm123.
Beautiful. And you're on Instagram.
I'm on Instagram, and if there's anyone who wants to collaborate in the future, that's a big reason why I did this film festival, is to try and get more people in line with each other and know that they exist. Oh, we need a Steadicam operator? Boom, we got it. We need a gaffer from the Bronx? Boom. We need a script supervisor from Yonkers? Boom. Just to try and get that people, I don't know, aware of each other's like network.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I'll do the Hercules animated Disney movie, If is good. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure, and we look forward to collaborating together in 26.
Awesome.
Oh, all right. Cut it there, Devin.